Alright, hello and welcome to Me Whoosh. Today we are looking at the Solo ADK-10 acoustic guitar kit. Once I had the guitar assembled, I started by checking the intonation, and I found that the high strings were fine, so those notes were fine, but these were coming up flat. And I think that has to do with the sort of weird sloping shape of the bridge saddle. It's weird the way it sort of slopes from the front to the back of the saddle here between the fourth and sixth string. I can fix that by replacing it with a bone nut that I happen to have. And then the other notes, if you just sort of check the open string and then start fretting other notes, I was getting really sharp notes here close to the nut, and that is the nut height, or the nut slots were just way too far away from the fingerboard. So you're sort of having to stretch the string a bit to get the strings to reach the fingerboard here at the first and second fret, noticeably enough to make it sound out of tune. The nut is a critical part of a guitar setup, and it's usually not something anyone ever touches. They just buy the guitar and the nut comes as it is and you leave it. But with a kit, the nut was so crazy high that it had to be dealt with, and that's if you didn't spend the time doing that part of the setup, you would never be satisfied with a guitar like this. You would just find it terribly uncomfortable, and it would sound bad. So that was a good investment, but a tremendous amount of time and effort goes into that, I gotta say. So setting a guitar like this up, first thing you want to check is neck relief, and you do that by fretting with a capo at the first fret and then fretting again here at the body joint. And you want to see how much curvature there is in the neck by measuring with a feeler gauge under the frets around sort of like 7 or 8, whatever's halfway between the body joint and here. The neck was measuring about 15 thousandths of an inch, which is pretty close to where you want it to be. A little high, but that's okay for an acoustic. The action at the 12th fret was 110 thousandths of an inch. The action at the first fret will give you an idea what kind of state the nut is in. That measured 22 thousandths of an inch. And at the second fret, for comparison, I was getting 15. Now, what you should get, if you fret the first and then measure the second, you should get the same value or something very close to the open string when measured at the first, because that's what you'd get if you fretted at second and measured at third, fretted at third and measured at fourth. Those numbers should all be very close to each other. I'm getting a distance of 7 thou over the between the first and second fret, so there's obviously an issue with how high the nut was. So I had to keep taking the nut off and adjusting it, and the way I do that is by loosening and raising the strings up, adjust the nut by sanding it down a bit, and then remeasure on the low and high E strings to see what kind of difference we've made, and then repeat. So you take some off, measure it again, take a little more off, measure it again until you've sanded the nut down to the right height. When I was done, I did tighten the truss rod just a tiny bit. So then I measured the neck relief at 10 thousandths of an inch. That is right on. The final readings for the action at the 12th fret was 90 thousandths, at the first fret 12 thousandths, and at the second fret 13 thousandths. The difference that makes in playability is huge. Like, it was a tremendous strain playing a bar chord here at the first fret. It is much more comfortable now. Okay, we can just skip this bit. Suffice it to say, the neck was terrible. So what you do is you use a straight edge to see if there's any high frets by resting it across 3 of them and then seeing if it rocks back and forth or not. Surprise, surprise, it's a mess. Any manufacturer will claim they leveled and crowned the frets. Not even close in this case. I didn't need to just fix a light buzz here and there. Some of the notes didn't even sound out properly. I'm just going to address the worst of it below the 12th fret, though. The fingerboard has a hump in it where it meets the body at the 14th fret. And if I can eliminate buzzing below the 12th fret, I'll be satisfied. Now, by rocking a straight edge on the frets, I find there's a few high ones. So 5 is high just in this spot here. 6 and 7 are high. 8 is high, again, just this spot here. And then as I get another one up here at 10, just this edge here. Now that's a lot of spots. If you had just one, I might be tempted to just use a diamond file or something like that. But a good way of dealing with this is a sanding block. So this is a radius block, 350 millimeters or 13 3/4 inches, I think. And what you do is put some ink on top of the frets. Whoops. That's why you put tape. And if your frets were all level, you'd be able to drag sandpaper across it and take ink off of them all evenly. But as we see, you can see these light spots that I've created. The dark spots are low, the sandpaper isn't touching them, and the light spots, these shiny bits, are where it's contacting the sandpaper. So we're hitting it here, there's a high spot, this whole thing is high, or at least the high and low edges of it. Same with 7, 8 has a low spot, or a high spot here, and again just here, and then they sort of start to even out again until I get up to 10 where there's that spot here. So do a bit of sanding, more ink, bit more sanding, bit more ink, and just keep that up until the sandpaper clears them off evenly with one stroke. Now you can see I've created some flat spots, like this fret right here. That's a pretty mean looking flat spot. I'm gonna have to crown considerably, but I've gotten to a point where the ink is pretty much coming off evenly off of these frets now. So I've dealt with the worst of the high spots, and once we re-crown, we're going to be in pretty good condition. Once you're done filing, this is what you should see when you sand the frets. I'm using this sort of concaved homemade fret crowning file, and as I rub it across, it takes the ink off evenly without leaving a line in the middle. That tells me that the fret is rounded, it is crowned as desired. Peeling the tape off is the satisfying bit, because then you get to see nice shiny frets. I use steel wool to clean them up. Sometimes I've used Dremel and polishing compound, but I'm not going for a mirror shine, just going for, you know, good enough. Now, I didn't think I was going to like having the strap attached to the headstock here, but got this little leather strap thing, which looks a little better than the shoelace they give you, but I actually find this relatively comfortable position. It does put, or will put, a bit of pressure on the neck, which will change the note, like you can hear that you can bend the neck, and so wearing it like this will put some pressure on the neck and change the notes probably a bit. But I find this actually you know, helps for we with the fat bellies. If I have the strap attached on the back of the headstock, I did put a strap peg there. I find that the guitar falls away from me a little more, and I'm using a little more pressure to hold it with this side of my arm. But anyway, I find this relatively comfortable, and I'm satisfied, you know, with the playability bits, playability aspects of it. Anyway, satisfied. Not bad for 250 bucks if you've got the expertise and the time to put in to reshaping this thing and setting it up properly. So, onward to installing the piezo pickup and the tuner device and the integrated jack battery compartment thing. That's coming up in another video. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.